Hey everyone, I'm Brian.
I'm Tyler.
And we're Gardener in Love.
Hey guys, welcome to today's video. We have been quite busy over the past few days. We had Mother's Day, we got a lot of rain in Charlotte, so we took a little bit of a break from making videos, but we are back and we're very excited to show you what we'll be planting in our garden today. So the subject of today's video is going to be all about adding red foliage to your garden. Now, if you've been watching us for a while, you may have noticed that we are lacking in that department in our garden. We really like chartreuse, bright yellow leaves, so we've got plenty of that to go around. But in terms of red foliage, we don't have as much of that in our garden as we would like. So today we're going to be adding 2 plants for some red foliage interest.
Yeah, so the first one that we have is a really exciting one that I've wanted to have in the garden for a long time. This is Midnight Masquerade penstemon, also called beard tongue, and it gets that name for these unique little flowers that sort of look like tongues and have these little hairs that sort of stick off of them. So it's quite interesting. But this will normally have really dark red foliage in the full sun. We have been keeping them in a more shaded spot just so they don't burn out in their cans and get super, super dry. So once we pop it in full sun, it'll really color up for us and be a really great contrast in the garden. But this will get just about 3 feet tall in the garden, and then it'll stool out and get really, really wide over the years. It's a perennial, so it'll just take care of itself mostly. You can shear it back after the first bloom, and it'll flush another bloom set out. But other than that, I think it's just a really great plant.
And how many do you have over there?
We have 3 of these. So we're going to plant these in a little bit of a drift behind a few other things because they get super tall. And then there's some chartreuse right behind them. So I think it'll be really beautiful.
I honestly wish we had gotten a couple of more, and maybe that's just another reason to go shopping at the garden center again.
We are monsters. All right, so what do you have?
Okay, so I have a ginger wine 9-bark. This one is really great because it's going to get pretty big. Yeah. This will get around 5 to 6 feet tall and wide. And the nice thing about this, in the spring, it comes out with kind of like orange foliage, and then it matures to this like dark burgundy foliage that you see here. And this also will have tiny little round discs of flower clumps all over it. It does bloom on old wood, so I doubt we'll get any blooms this year since we just picked this one up. I'm not sure if anybody did any pruning on it before we got it. So hopefully next year we'll get to see it bloom and flower a little bit. One thing to keep in mind about 9-barks, they kind of have like an arching or like a vase shape to them. Yeah. So you really want to try to not prune them at all. If you prune them, you're really going to kind of kill the natural shape of the plant. So put it in a spot where it can get to its full size. We've got some other things around where we're going to be putting this one, but we've decided if we need to move the other plants that are near where this is going to be going down the road, we're okay to do that. We'll sacrifice some other things so that this little guy can have a good life. 9-bark actually gets its name. I didn't know this until I started researching this plant. But 9-bark actually gets its name from the peeling bark on the mature stems. So another kind of little piece of interest for you on this plant.
Science.
Yes. As you guys know, we are in Charlotte, North Carolina in Zone 7B. And this one is only hardy to a Zone 7B. So we are pushing it a little bit with this one. I'm interested to see how it does in our hot climates. I think 9-barks typically like to be in cooler climates.
Yeah.
So hopefully this one will last for us. We're putting it in a spot where it gets full sun, which is what they like normally. So fingers crossed this one works out for us.
Yeah, and I think it can really stool out in the space that we're putting it, but we're really looking at almost everything we put in our garden right now as, like, if it gets big enough and it grows in beautifully, then we'll move the stuff around it, or we'll relocate it if we need to. We're just happy that things will be happy.
Yeah, and that's kind of like how it goes when you have a young garden. If you want the full look, you're going to have to plant pretty tight and just be open to shifting and moving things around down the road. But a garden never really is fully complete, is it?
Yeah, no, I think that we're always sort of learning about the space. There's always things changing. There's trees changing. So the sun moves at different times of the year. And so we're always learning about the different spaces in our garden, how much water the different spaces get. So I think we always just have to be ready to move things. And nature's pretty hardy and tough, and it can take it.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let's get these little guys in the ground.
All right. All right, so we've got our penstemons all in the ground, and they look so beautiful. We've already got a little bee friend here flying around. So we're going to make sure and get these watered in really good, but we wanted to make sure that we showed you the space that we're planting them in. You can see that we have this really, really gorgeous Magic Fountains delphinium over here, and it's sort of an icy blue color with the purple in the middle. And right in front of it, you can see that we have some Perfect Profusion salvia that's just going out of bloom. We're going to get that sheared back, and then it will flush out a whole new set of blooms for us. But we really needed something in this area to break it up, and red color will do that perfectly for us. And you can see the penstemon has these lilac blooms, so it'll sort of play off of the delphiniums and the purple in that. And so it'll be really nice. And then over on the left of the penstemons, we have our hibiscus. And so this has really dark green foliage and will get really, really big, about 4 feet wide, 5 feet tall probably. And this particular hibiscus has sort of fruit punch colored blooms on it, sort of pinkish red. And so that'll be a really nice contrast. And then way back in the corner, behind all of this, we sort of have, from our view from the house, we have our Winecraft Gold smoke bush. And we are really hoping that this smoke bush will get really tall for us. They usually have a vase shape and get about 6 feet tall. And so we're hoping that that'll play sort of the backdrop to all of this. And you can really see all the contrast in the colors and the blooms. And it'll just be a really, really beautiful show for us. And now Tyler's going to talk to you about the ginger wine, ninebark.
All right, our ginger wine ninebark is also happily in the ground. Brian ran into some pretty big roots when he was digging the hole over here, so the drill didn't quite make it all the way for digging the hole. Had to run and get the shovel, but that's what we deal with over here on this side. Planting these trees was a beast with all of the old roots. But we got it in the ground. I did plant it up just maybe like ½ an inch, quarter of an inch, just to make sure the water will run away from the crown of the plant. We won't have any rotting issues. Ninebarks generally also like it to be somewhat dry and well draining, so another good reason to plant them up a little bit higher. I'm very excited to see this just grow and kind of like take over the space here. On the other side of the fence, we have the Union Garden and a Limelight hydrangea, and eventually we'll probably have to take out this arborvitae, but that's okay. We've got 33 others that are still going to be beautiful. And then right here in the front, we have our very first David Austin rose. This is Carding Mill, and it is just starting to bloom. We just planted this a few weeks ago, if you guys saw our other video. And this is a new flower bed for us. So far, these are the only two things we have planted here. We are probably going to go and get another Carding Mill just to kind of balance things out. And then over time, we'll fill up this bed with what feels natural, but eventually the 9-bark will be 5 to 6 feet tall, so probably somewhere in this range, and it'll get pretty big. I mean, it's going to brush up against this fence eventually. I'm very excited to see it fill out the space, and we've got some depth over here now with some dark foliage. Very, very happy with it.
All right, so that about does it for our adding red to our garden video. I think that all of this red is going to be really gorgeous in this space and really play contrast with all the plants around it. And I'm just happy that we finally got some red. We have a Japanese maple that we really love, and it's sort of like a centerpiece in our garden, but that's really the only dark red thing that we've had so far.
Yeah, I was trying to think, and I don't think... Well, we also have wild berry heuchera,
Yep.
So that's kind of like a red, purple foliage. But other than that, I mean, everything else is basically green, so...
Yeah, a lot of people say that it's nice to have a red and a yellow or chartreuse and then some sort of like a silver in your garden beds. And so we have added that red in, and now we have all of the trio.
Yep. We hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this inspired you to go out and find some red foliage to add to your garden. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel so you get all of our updates. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.